Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Hare Krishna, dear devotees, thank you very much for joining us today. We wanted to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue with the rest, the summary of the 10th canto, Bhagavatam, sorry. And we are at chapter 49. We saw last couple of chapters how Krishna sent his wonderful devotee Uddhav to learn about bhakti from the gopis in Vrindavan. And initially Uddhav went there perhaps with the mood of teaching them something, but he came away from Mathura or Vrindavan, went back to Mathura, learning a lot, and even ultimately desiring to become the herbs or the creepers or the grass in Vrindavan, so that the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis are always trampling over him or near him, because these gopis are so, although outwardly perhaps looking a little bit uncivilized, because they're forest, there's cowherd girls, but actually internally extremely devoted to Sri Krishna. And he perhaps also understood how Krishna, he was always missing these gopis, so always missing the Brijbasis. And perhaps he understood that why Krishna, who is Atmarama, self-satisfied, doesn't need anybody, yet he misses the Brijbasis, which is really inconceivable for us to understand. But Uddhav gained an incredible amount of experience about bhakti from the gopis of Vrindavan, of Vraj. And he completely transformed his way of thinking. He was a jnani, he was a very knowledgeable person, and a devotee of Krishna, completely close to Krishna in every sense of the word. Krishna would even take advice from him on many matters, even trivial matters, even important matters. So he was a very important part of the entourage of Krishna. But yet, even he learned from the gopis. So you can see the elevated status of the gopis. Really extraordinary. Now the shift changes a little bit. The Bhagavatam takes a little turn in a different direction. So at the end of last chapter, we saw how Krishna went to a crew and said to him, I am concerned about the Pandavas and Mother Kunti. Please go as my representative to Hastinapur and check out the situation. So this is a verse that is a very amazing verse, actually. Chapter 10, sorry, Canto 10, chapter 49, text number 12. Nanyat tava padam boyat yat jat pashyami sharanam nanam bipyantam mrityu samsarat ishwarasya pavar gikat. Translation: for persons fearful of death and rebirth, I see no shelter other than your liberating lotus feet, for you are the Supreme Lord. So in this world, there is only birth and death. You're born and you die. And in the middle, there's a little bit of drama, but essentially, you're born and you die, born and you die, born and you die. And the little bit of drama in the middle is probably very insignificant. But the most important parts of our transaction in this world is birth and death. And of course, at some point, we have to understand that there's more to life than being born and dying, and try to liberate ourselves from this world. And the only way to do this is by taking the shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. So this chapter is called A Crew's Mission in Hastinapur. He describes how a crew went to Hastinapur, saw Dhritarashtra's unfair behavior towards his nephews, the Pandavas, and returned to Mathura. A crew went to Hastinapur, met all the Kurus, including Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, Vidur, Kunti, Dronachari, Kripachari, Karna, Duryodhana, and Ashwatthama, and, of course, the Pandavas. He remained there for several months to scrutinize the conduct of Dhritarashtra, who had bad sons and who was inclined to give in to the whims of mischievous advisors. And one of the principal advisors was Shakuni, the brother-in-law of Dhritarashtra, the brother of Gandharvi. He heard from Kunti and Vidur how Duryodhana, who could not tolerate the great qualities of Kunti's sons, such as their powerful influence, military skill, physical strength, bravery, and humility, or could not tolerate the great quality, or the intense affection the citizens had for them. So Duryodhana had tried to kill the Pandavas in various ways. So this is really how envy can destroy somebody. If we have envious feelings, we don't like somebody because they're better than us, then that can really ruin our lives. And envy actually is ultimately the reason why we come to this world, because we're envious of God. We see God being worshipped and we want that same worship. And he facilitates that by creating this material world for us to try to become God, to try to lord it over material nature. So this problem that Duryodhana has, we all have. It's the original cause of our existence in this material world, envy. So his envy was directed at the Pandavas, who they have naturally divine qualities, as Krishna explains to Arjuna in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. He describes, I think, 26 godly qualities, and then he describes 6 or something like that, bad qualities, and he reassures us, you don't worry, you have divine qualities. So they were never envious. They were never, greed, lust, anger. Those things didn't contaminate the Pandavas. And that's the reason that their influence was so powerful. That's the reason that they were so skilled in everything they did. That's the reason they were so brave and humble. And that's why everybody loved them. And this is what got to Duryodhana. He could not tolerate. So he devised so many schemes with his uncle, his Mama Shri, to get rid of the Pandavas. They tried to kill them in many different ways, but nothing succeeded. And even though there were some very powerful personalities in that arena, in that dynasty, like Dhritarashtra, powerful king, helpless because he was too attached to his sons. Bhishma, the most powerful human being on earth, too attached to his duty, his vow, too attached to his vow. He himself, or single-handedly, could have changed the nature of history, the nature of the whole Mahabharata. But if he had, we would have no Bhagavad Gita. So there's always a reason why people act in the way they do act. And the Lord has some hand behind that. Vidur, yes, Kamakshi.
I was just saying, when Bhishma Pita was so much attached to his vow, if he were to break it, then he would have called all sorts of names like a weakling or desire of something. So he was in a predicament. So he had to be what he had to be. Yeah.
Maybe, but if you had the option of keeping your vow and letting injustice take place, or breaking your vow and justice taking place, is a choice you have to make. He made his choice. But it's a choice only available to the individual to make. Whether it's right or wrong, that's judged by the Lord, by karma, you know.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
In his situation, people, I mean, you have to say he was extraordinarily powerful to hold on to his vows, and in the most extreme conditions, because he didn't like what he saw. He was a very righteous person. When he saw how Duryodhana and Dhritarashtra was so unfair to the Pandavas, he was fuming. He had to really restrain his himself not to kill Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana. So actually, it took a great strength of character to hold back.
It's unique character.
Yeah, he's a unique character.
Very unique character. Yeah. Okay.
But others have made a statement that actually he shouldn't have tolerated. He should have just forget the vow and just do the necessary just to protect those who are righteous. And there's arguments on both sides.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Prabhuji?
Yes, Nariman.
Yes. They said that after what is in his vow, and he was so much sticking to his vow, they say that never ever take Bhishma, never ever be like somebody who can take Bhishma Pratigna. That is out of question. Never ever do that if you are not ever going to break that vow.
Yeah.
But I think he tried to tell Dhutras, didn't he? And Gandhari. But and he was taking sort of discussing with Vidur, but nothing was coming out of it.
Yeah. Correct. I think where he crossed the line, my personal opinion, this really, it doesn't count for much, but I think where he should have drawn the line was when Draupadi was insulted.
Yes.
At that time, he should have picked up the bow and just done the necessary.
Yes.
It was the time to do it. Because if a woman is insulted, especially the character of Draupadi, you take action. You take action, no matter who you are.
Yeah, fully agree.
So Super Soul in everybody's heart was playing a part. So Krishna, I suppose, is the ultimate controller.
True. But we have a certain independence where we can choose one way or the other. But for sure, the Lord has a hand in this because, if he had done anything, then, Krishna wouldn't have spoken the Gita. And the Gita is the most important scripture in the whole world. 700 verses. He summarizes the whole Vedic philosophy, There's nothing like the Gita. So if that wasn't spoken, where would we be today, So there's many, but from a personal point of view, for Bhishma and how he, his character and his life, I just have that one little opinion. If a woman is insulted, if a child is insulted, you take action. So, but that's a personal view.
Yeah, but this is where I feel you're absolutely right that he should have taken some action. But can Krishna be playing part in his character to say, or made him do what he did? So the Mahabharata proceeded the way it proceeded.
Yeah, wouldn't have made him do it, but he would have guided him. Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, I was using wrong word. Guided him.
Yeah, definitely. So, there's a comment here.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for raising that point. Sorry, let me just Puna Mataji. But Prabhuji, Bhagavad Gita was spoken elsewhere as well. Not in, yes, you're right, Puna Mataji, but the way the Lord did it. See, Bhagavad Gita, 700 verses, what he does, he concises the whole Vedic philosophy. He could have sent Balaram to do it, Narad Muni to do it. He could have sent Vyasdev to do it because Vyasdev is the author of all the scriptures, but he didn't. He personally did the Bhagavad Gita himself. Only he can do it because what he did was summarized like 2, 3, 4 billion verses into 700 verses. Only Krishna could do this, no one else. That's why Bhagavad Gita is revered as, you know, the most incredible scripture. So in other places, Bhagavad Gita is, the message of the Gita is there, but the way Krishna delivers it in these 18 chapters, 17 chapters, is unique. He covers everything in such a concise way. So that's why it's so important. There is other, of course, other books. There is the Srimad Bhagavatam, 18,000 verses. Who's gonna hang around? Like we're going through it, right? It's taken us, I don't know how many seminars. Probably this is our maybe 100th seminar. It takes forever, although it's completely full of nectar, and hence why we persevere. But if we want a roadmap to living in this world, Bhagavad Gita, and he gives it in such a concise format. So very important. Any other points? Anything else? Anybody else like to say? I mean, I know there's so many different opinions there will be about Bhishma's character, and it's good to have some opinion. At least we're giving it some thought. Okay. So there's the Dhritarashtra. Kunti asked Akrur, so when Akrur came to her, whether her family remembered her. Does Krishna and Balaram remember her sons? She felt like a doe in the midst of wolves and wondered if Krishna would come to console her. Finally, offering her obeisances, she called out, Krishna, Krishna, O great yogi, O supreme soul, universe's protector, O Govinda, please protect me, who have surrendered to you. I and my sons are overwhelmed by trouble. So, of course, the Lord answers her prayers. And we see in the first canto how she offers such amazing prayers to the Lord. At one point, she even says to the Lord, give me problems, give me troubles, because when I have troubles, I remember you. Now, we don't necessarily need to pray like that, because in Kali Yuga, troubles will come. Even don't have to ask the Lord for troubles, because they will come anyway. But see the strength of her character. Give me troubles so that I can always remember you. And then she also says something which is very important. She says, please let me not be attached to my family. Even though my family members are devotees, the Pandavas, the great Yudhishthira, the powerful Bhim, the glorious Arjuna, beautiful Sahadev, and smart Nakul. Let me not be attached to them, even though they're devotees. Why? Because any attachment in this world will bring us back to this world. It won't liberate us. So very important prayer. She really set the standard of how to pray to the Lord. Really, really important. So something to note, that we should not be attached. We should try to break our attachment. Of course, when children are young, you know, you are of course going to look after them, and you can really only do that through love and attachment. But at some point in our lives, there has to come this point where we realize that at least any attachment will bring us back to this world, and slowly, slowly detach ourselves. And the easiest way to detach is become attached to the Supreme Lord. That way, any attachments to this world just disappear automatically. No extra endeavor needed. Akrur and Vidur tried to console the queen by reminding her of the extraordinary way her sons had taken birth. So this was so amazing. King Pandu couldn't, be a part of that process because of a curse. But Queen Kunti had the boon to call upon any demigod to give her child. And she had called, even before marriage, she called upon Surya Dev, and Karn appeared, which was a bit of a shock. And she had to abandon him for social reasons, which was real tragedy. Tragedy she regretted right throughout her life. But then when the need was there, she called upon Dharmaraj to bring Yudhishthir. She called upon Vayu to bring Bhim. She called upon Indra to bring Arjun. And the two twins, Ashwin twins, Nakul and Sahadev. Actually, that was a blessing given to Madri. So they reminded her, hey, why are you so worried? Look at your sons, they're so righteous. They're born of the great devatas. Please, remember what happened. Don't be so distraught. Just before leaving, Akrura went to Dhritarashtra and he urged him to rule religiously by treating all his relatives equally. And this is the duty of the king. He cannot discriminate between his family and his subjects. Yes, he may be close to his family, of course, that's given. But if the family does something wrong, he treats them like the citizens and punishes them. And Duryodhana had many causes to be punished. But Dhritarashtra always looked the other way. Never, well, he tried to advise his son, but his son was too strong-headed. So Akrura, he tried to advise Dhritarashtra. By religiously protecting the earth, delighting your subjects in your noble character and treating all your relatives equally, you will surely achieve success and glory. In this world, no one has any permanent relationship with anyone else, O king. We cannot stay forever, even with our own body. What to speak of our own wife, child, children, and the rest? A fool indulges in sin to maintain his life, wealth, and children and other relatives, for he thinks these things are mine. In the end, however, these very things all abandon him, leaving him frustrated. One who is ignorant of the real goal of life goes to hell alone, taking his sins with him. So amazing advice, absolutely amazing advice. And usually what happens when one gets old, the children, they curse the parents because they're old, you know,
Useless.
old and useless, always coughing away, always having
Needing attention.
attention, going to A&E every other day. So they cursed. When will this old man die? I remember Guru Maharaj giving that lecture, and we've heard it so many times now. When will this old fool die? So never become a burden to the children. And how can you do that? Becoming detached and perhaps living in the Holy Land. Can be a little tricky, a little hard. But if one has the desire, then ultimately the Lord is in control. And if he wants to fulfill that desire, he will fulfill that desire. But at least having that desire gives the opportunity to the Lord to fulfill that desire. If you don't even have that desire, well, what to do? Even the Lord is powerless. But if one has the desire, yes, I want to be in the Holy Land, especially when I come to my later years in my life. Let me die in Vrindavan. Let me die preaching the holy names of the Lord. Let me die. Let this body become totally exhausted and fully used in the service of the Lord. Then that is our success. So his advice was absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, Dhritarashtra, it fell on deaf ears. So very unfortunate. very unfortunate for him. And we saw the result. He saw all of his children die in front of his eye. Well, he couldn't see, but he heard all his children die. That the Rasa phrased Akru's pleasing and auspicious words, but then said he could not accept his statements becoming fixed within his mind due to his unsteady heart prejudiced by affection for his sons. And this is, I would say, pure ignorance, because yes, Duryodhana was your son in this life, but in the past life, he probably, or he may well have been your enemy. Usually that's what happens. Or not usually, sometimes what happens. In the past, one was an enemy, and then take birth as a child in that family and cause all sorts of grief to the parents. That's what usually happens. So, and this affection is such a big Maya. Yeah, he's my son, so I have to look after him. I have to do whatever he says, even if it's, irreligious.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
do you have any knowledge of Duryodhana's past life?
Good
What
question.
was he being having such a nasty character?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, I'm not sure.
No.
I haven't read his life history, past life history. Anybody has? Anybody has researched that? No.
Okay, not significant then. It must not be significant.
Yeah, but we all have this character of Duryodhana within us,
Yeah.
His was just very nicely manifested.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Sitaram.
But those characters have been chosen to perform their character in the Mahabharata. It was according to their acceptance. They accepted to do such a role, Prabhuji.
Maybe, yeah.
Yes, I have read somewhere that Duryodhana also, he was someone, but I forgot him. I'll try to find it.
Okay, let us know tomorrow. Yeah, you can give us the past history of Duryodhana if you like.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, no, if you find it, if you find it.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to, interesting to hear.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, bear with my voice. Yeah.
That's okay.
I don't know about his past past life, but what little I know about is his birth, that Gandhari had a very troubled pregnancy, and the child would not come out. And then it was not a normal pregnancy. It didn't last 9 months of gestation. It lasted far longer than that. And despite that, the child would not be born. And then when Gandhari was in a lot of pain, what she delivered was just a mass of ugly looking something flesh kind of a thing, which was very scary. And it was not a child that was born. So then from that flesh, it was taken, I can't remember the character who took them to the cave somewhere, and from there 100 lives were given birth, and they were sort of hanging upside down in a sense,
in a cocoon,
sort of. Yeah. And then that is how they were born. So they were not sort of ordinarily born or ordinary children. This is what I know of.
Correct. Because I think it was Veda Vyas, wasn't it, who came and gave these 99 or whatever children life, and they put them in the cocoon, something like that. Yeah, it was quite complicated birth. There were complications in his birth. Indeed. Yeah, no, thank you for sharing that, Purnamaji. So knowing now the mentality of the Dhritarashtra. Akrura took permission from his dear relatives and friends and then left Hastinapur and returned to Mathura, where he related everything to Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram. So this is the end of 49th chapter. Very interesting in terms of how Krishna sends a messenger to Hastinapur to check upon the Pandavas and Kunti. How affectionate the Lord is towards his devotees. He'll send devotees to look after them. Very, very interesting, very important, very loving of the Lord. Because Akrura was quite an interesting character. And we'll see a little bit more about Akrura later on, how his different natures come out. And we've got a picture of, this is actually not Akrura here, but I just thought we'd put a picture in here. This is Sanjay talking to the Dhritarashtra during the battlefield of the Kurukshetra battlefield. But anyway, so any more questions or comments? Or we can go to Madhusudan Prabhu for the instructions.
One last thing, Prabhuji.
Oh yes, go ahead.
I think having shown Dhritarashtra's photo there, what I think is that Dhritarashtra was so bitter as his blindness. I think that overtook everything, any relationship issues, anything apart from him and his family, it overtook everything. And I don't think he is sort of like a concrete wall around himself, that nothing would penetrate that, because of he was so much pitying himself for being born blind. Perhaps. Okay.
Absolutely. He was, from his birth practically, why was I born blind? He was the eldest. And being blind disqualifies you from being a king. But unfortunately, they had to make him the king because Pandu died. But he was caretaker. He wasn't a king per se. Yeah, that's right. That's right. He was caretaker king. But he got so attached. And this is the problem. This is the problem in this world. You become so attached to your position, to wealth, but it's going to go. It's going to all disappear soon. Isn't it? Very, very soon, it's all going to go. So why be so attached? Be humble. You're going to die.
I think that was his mode, isn't it? The mode of patience that he was in. And he was too attached to his inability, blindness. So there's two things here as well. I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. No, thank you for that comments. Yeah, very good. Very good. All right. Hare Krishna, Madhusudan Babu.
Hi, Haribol, Hare Krishna.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Duh.
Okay, yeah. This is quite an interesting chapter, particularly, when Kunti is praying and Akrura is interesting also when Krishna actually wants to find out what the mood is. And as we saw from yesterday, how once Krishna has killed Kans and now, he's in Mathura and he started to live a kind of a kind of city life type thing, where he's going and visiting Akrura and going to also, that's, and then he's inquiring about the condition of Pandavas actually, also he wants to know more. And so he sends Akrura, to Hastinapur. So in this chapter then, we learn, or rather, we can learn the prayers of Kunti Devi, who reveals to Akrura in that verse, and now that I'm suffering in the midst of my enemies, like a dove in the midst of the wolves, will Krishna come to console me and my fatherless sons with his words So we find ourselves, in the midst of, like in the Maya, but it's actually, enemy or as such, but she's right in the middle, where everything is opposing her. And although she's trying to have some sort of relationship with Gandhari and sons, but she's seeing injustice around and manipulation, and so she's right in the middle. But we might find ourselves in situations like that, which so she surrenders and totally depends on the mercy of Krishna and sees her situation as a blessing, actually. So even from first canto, I think, when Krishna is leaving and she's praying to, there's a whole book written about Kunti Devi. So she prays actually that, keep me in difficult situations so that I can always keep remembering you. Otherwise, in happy conditions, I might forget you, So she chants the names of Krishna and says, Krishna, Krishna, Ma Yogin, Vishvatmana Vishva Bhavam, Prapanyam Pahi Govinda, Sishu Bees Javasidam. So this is a prayer. She's singing actually to Krishna, like that. And then, Nama Krishnaya Sudaya, Brahmane Paramatmane, Yogeshwaraya Yogaya, Swam Aham Sharanam Gata. So she's at this stage saying the Sharanam Gata, means I'm surrendering totally, and protect me. So Nama Krishna Sudaya. So there, she's praying this. So this is actually a prayer that we can also learn and get into the mood of sort of, I offer my obeisance unto you, Krishna, the supreme pure, the absolute truth, and the super soul, the Lord of pure devotional service and the source of all knowledge. I have come to you for shelter. So this is the mood, we find Kunti, she's portraying her and relaying and expressing her mood to Akrura. So yeah, and then obviously Akrura find out through Dhritarashtra's strong-headedness, rather, despite knowing, and receiving good advice, but still he's stuck where he is. Okay,
Yes.
Haribo, Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah.
Any comments? Any questions? Otherwise, we can close today's session. Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, chapter 49 Ki Jai. Tomorrow, chapter 50. We coming to the close of Krishna's Mathura pastimes. Still got maybe 2-3 chapters before we move to Dwaka. Hare Krishna.